Hello everyone, today we're gonna fly to Anson County Airport where there's a autogyro flying event hosted by the Carolina Barnstormers aviator group, and they have been holding this event for the last 8 to 9 years, and since the beginning the event has been growing. We normally see 100 people going and with dozens of autogyro or gyroplanes going there. For me it's gonna be a exciting experience because the only exposure I had to gyroplanes was really through ground school, and I've never flown a gyroplane before, so I'm really excited. Anson County Airport is just 50 miles southeast of Concord Airport, so this is a very short flight. After 30 minutes, we're already in a traffic pattern, and although it's in the very early morning, we already saw some gyroplanes in the pattern. Hey Barry,
how are you?
Good to see you. And it's my first time coming to here to for this flying, and it's a wonderful event.
Yeah,
so
thanks.
I wonder, how did you get this started?
We started many years ago a gyro group, or a aviators group called Carolina Barnstormers.
Right.
And the whole idea was to get a group of people together that wanted to emphasize safety and just have a good time getting together with no drama, no hassles, anything like that. So that's what we do, and it's grown to this over a couple of years just by word of mouth and just good friends getting together. The flying is fun. It's neat. We all love to fly, but what's really neat is when all the people get together. Just all good people that come together and do this.
Right. And this was started 4 or 5 years ago?
I think I've been doing this for at least maybe 8, 9 years.
8, 9 years.
Out here, and I have 2 a year. One's in October, one's in usually May.
Okay.
And we have 2 a year out here, and it's usually about 3 or 4 days in May and 3 or 4 days in October.
Yeah, and then I know you serve free food, and you know, it's a enjoyable event with a lot of aviators coming.
That's right.
You know,
Right.
and then we have, you know, all kind of aircrafts here.
Yep.
And I know you're very passionate about autogyros. Can you
Right.
tell
Been
us
flying
about
fixed wing for a long time, and I
Yeah.
got into autogyros about I'd say 21 years ago. And even though I still fly planes and I flew helicopters for a little while, just some training and stuff in helicopters, but
Right.
the gyroplanes get a lot more hours. They're just a lot more fun to fly around.
Yeah, and for the regular pilots who are not familiar with the autogyros, anything you can share with us? Like,
well,
how's
it's
it
it's an aircraft. When you're in and flying, it flies just like an aircraft. But the difference is your takeoffs and landings are a little bit different. Unlike a helicopter, that rotor on top is not powered. It's powered by the air going through it, so it's in auto rotation.
Yeah.
In a helicopter, your engine is powered by, the rotor is powered by the engine. So as your engine quits, you have to turn it into auto rotation. Instead of creating lift with the rotor, you have to get air going through to maintain lift with the rotor. We fly the same way with or without our engines running. When we land, we're landing the exact same way whether the engine's running or not, because we're always on auto rotation. So it's always creating lift as long as air is going through that rotor. And then you have a pusher engine that makes you go faster forward. So the faster you go forward,
Yep.
the more air goes through the rotor. The faster the rotor spins, the more lift you create.
Okay, so in that sense, it's actually safer aircraft.
I believe there was a day when they were getting a lot of bad publicity because people were trying to train themselves because there were no CFIs.
Okay.
And so the people were training themselves using the Benson syllabus, which was good if you followed it letter by letter. And then people were, some of the gyros were unstable. They were built with high thrust lines and all kinds of things that needed to be changed.
Yep.
And they fly, but the newer gyros are a lot safer now. Now that's why we're so passionate about it, because we're trying to get more people involved to realize that these aren't the little things that were jetting around in the air before. We got people that travel from Florida, from Massachusetts, from Tennessee, Georgia to come here to these fly-ins, and they all fly gyros to get here. And they're now becoming good cross-country machines, and you can get single-seat ones, two-seat ones, open, closed. There are jump takeoff ones that you can develop. There's a few that have been developed. They're just more complicated.
Yeah.
And we like simple. This is a very simple aircraft.
Yeah, and I feel most of the autocrafts are open cockpit, and this one is a closed
This
cockpit.
is, there's a few that are enclosed. This is a side-by-side. And this one's designed basically for traveling.
Right.
So the real fun you have is when you get in an open frame gyro, where you're out in the open, the wind's in your face, and you're running through the fields, and that's the most fun you can have. This is more like flying in an airplane or a helicopter.
Right.
So I use it for traveling. I use it for some demo flights, showing people what flying's all about. But if they really want a fun flight, you go to the open frame ones, or the open what we call Euro tubs.
Right.
So they're open frame, like many of them that are sitting here today.
Cool. Yeah. This is neat. So, can you tell us a little bit, maybe from taxi to takeoff, how is it different from other
taxiing, all that stuff's about the same. You got to remember you got that 27-foot rotor up there that you have to control all the time in the breezes and whatnot. So we taxi it usually with it locked.
Yep.
What you do at the end of the runway when you pull out is you want to pre-rotate.
Yep.
Many of these have different systems of pre-rotating. This one uses a clutch back here with a drive shaft going up.
Yep.
So what you can do is on this model, you engage your pre-rotator to about 200 RPM. Once it hits 200 RPM, you can pull the stick back, because by that time the rotors are coned up and they're creating a little bit of lift.
Yep.
And so you pull your stick back and slowly accelerate forward.
Yep.
Once the rotor can take the air and speed up, you don't want to overspeed it because it'll cavitate.
Yep.
You let that build up speed. Once it's creating enough lift, it will lift you off your nose wheel, and then you balance on the main wheels, accelerate out, and just fly it right off the runway.
Okay.
And landing, very simple. You come down, we pull it back to usually the throttle's neutral.
Yep.
We come down, and within about 10 feet you start flaring out, and it just settles itself right down the runway, very slow. You can land, you could land aggressively within a rotor length. Take off, like in this model, probably 300 or 400 feet to take off. But the takeoff's really the only big difference between this and an airplane. An airplane you can just throttle it up and go and take off. This you have to slowly feed the air into the rotor and let it speed up on its own. But in the air they fly almost exactly the same. The beauty about these are an airplane can stall. When you get too slow or an angle of attack is too high, the wing will stall and the airplane will drop.
Right.
These don't stall. That wing I can go to 0 airspeed and still come down in a hover, and that's still creating lift.
Okay.
And we still have full control of the rudder at 0 airspeed.
So in that case, like other than weather, it seems there's no emergency procedure for this.
Not really. It's as long as that doesn't come off, you're pretty well put it down any place you want. If you had to put it down, normally with an engine out, you would hover it down to a spot you want to land on, and then you would nose it down to gain some airspeed and gain a little bit more energy in the rotor, and then you'd flare to a landing.
Right.
If you had to bring it down, you could bring it down straight down.
Yep.
You would probably destroy the machine, but more than likely you'd survive it. Because it drops about 600 to 700 feet a minute down, straight down if you had no power at all.
Right. So for the weather like today, is it perfect time to fly?
Absolutely perfect day to go flying.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you don't hear more in the background right now. They're all eating. That's what the problem is.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But in the morning, there's also buzz
Yeah.
in this airspace with tons of autogyros flying around, which is amazing. And for me, it's the first experience because
Yeah.
I saw them at air shows, but I don't see them in real life here. So
What the other good thing about a gyro is we get a lot of people that fly powered parachutes or trikes.
Right.
And they fly those a lot, and they can't fly when the winds are really heavy or the thermals are really heavy in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Gyroplanes, because of the high wing loading on the rotor, are like helicopters. We can cut through those thermals.
Yep.
So there's a smoother ride in a gyroplane than there is in any ultralight or power parachute, anything like
Yep.
that. So we get a lot of those people that want to fly during the day. So they're converting over to gyroplanes then.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
This is a great introduction. Thank you so much, Barry.
Appreciate it.
For the viewers, I think this is Carolina Barnstormers.
Carolina Barnstormers.
Yeah. So, and you host the event twice a year.
Twice a year down here at Anson County Airport.
Okay. So if you miss, the spring, so make sure you check out in the fall.
The fall.
Right.
We'll post dates someplace.
Okay. Cool. We'll check it out on Facebook or whatever social media
All
is
right.
available.
Very good.
Yeah, cool. So maybe we should give a
Now
ride.
we'll go for a ride.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
Barry is very nice to give me a ride on this beautiful German autogyro called a Cavalon. Since I didn't record the intercom audio, I will just reiterate what Barry told me during this flight. Barry uses closed cockpit Cavalon mainly for travel purpose. It can fly at 80 to 90 knots with 5 gallon per hour fuel rate, and it can travel to 400 miles. Not a bad travel machine. The cockpit is mainly glass panel with steam cages as backup. For some of you who are not familiar with rotorcraft, the pilot in command normally sits on the right side. Compared with tandem seat gyroplanes, Cavalon's side-by-side seat design actually creates more drag and makes it less aerodynamically efficient. Now we taxi to the runway and prepare for the takeoff. Barry will turn the pneumatic mode selector from the brake mode to the flight mode in order to activate the pre-rotator. Now the pre-rotator is engaged. Once the air builds up, the rotor blades will start spinning. Next, we'll wait until the pre-rotator to speed up to 200 RPM for takeoff. Now we lift off. And Barry demonstrates some right turns and left turns to show the stability of the aircraft. The beauty of a rotorcraft is that it cannot stall. If the airspeed drops below the minimum flying airspeed, then it will simply descend without a stall or any abrupt action. Now, Barry gave us a demonstration on how it works, and just pay attention to the airspeed indicator here. You can notice the airspeed indicator shows 0, and the VSI, the vertical speed indicator, shows about 500 feet per minute descent, and the whole aircraft is quite stable. And you will never see that in an airplane. And after that, Barry gave me the controls, and I did some basic maneuvers, and it was so much fun. After that, we turned back to airport for landing, as there are quite a few people in the line waiting for the next flight. And that was a very smooth touchdown, and Barry was very happy that I complimented his landing skills. I really enjoyed my first gyroplane experience. It's safe and smooth, and also gives you a strong sense of freedom. I hope you can feel for yourself at Barry's flying event in the fall at Anson County Airport in North Carolina. Thank you for watching. If you like my channel, click the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.